You're listening to Meet the Thriller Author, the podcast that features interviews with thriller, mystery, and suspense authors. I am your host, Alan Peterson, and today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/MTTA. And that's an M as in murderer. Over 180,000 titles, including great thrillers to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. So stay tuned for the next episode of Meet the Thriller Author. Hey everybody, welcome to Meet the Thriller Author. I'm Alan Peterson. And in this episode, I have CeeCee James. Very excited to talk to her. She writes cozy mysteries in other genres as well, but we'll be focusing on cozy mysteries, of course. CeeCee, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm excited to talk to you about cozy mysteries and everything. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Well, I'm a mom of 4, and I've got a couple grandkids. And I have 2 mini-dachshunds that I'm hoping won't make an appearance. And I'm a writer and a public speaker too. Not a very good public speaker, though, I don't think.
Oh, no,
I get nervous.
Oh, you'll be doing fine. No, public speaking is scary for everybody, so no worries. I talked to you a little bit before that. I have 3 little dogs, so we're both kind of like on edge to see if they're going to bark or not. So hopefully, if I catch them the right bark, I can take the barks out. So no worries. I'm looking at your webpage and on Amazon. So fascinating with cozy mysteries. Can you tell me a little bit about that genre?
Oh, I love cozy mysteries. They're just kind of for me anyway, they're a fun escape. They're a really lighthearted kind of mystery, and you really focus on the puzzle. So it's very puzzle centered, of who did it and trying to figure out all the clues.
Yeah, I started reading Tempting Taste of Danger. I started reading that, and I see that's very mystery. So I haven't finished it, but I can see how it's a page turner because you have to keep reading towards the end, I assume, to find out who done it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lots of red herrings and lots of different suspects.
And can you tell us a little bit about your series? That's the Angel Lake Cozy Mystery Series. Can you tell us a little bit about Angel Lake and your characters?
So that series is about a woman, Elise Pepper, who's in her mid-30s, and she returns to her hometown after her husband cheated on her, and so she has to start her life over. And it's kind of a riches to rags story where she really has to rebuild everything all over again. She gets a lot of small jobs, and for some reason, she's always at the wrong place at the wrong time. So yeah, it's just a fun story. I try and interject a lot of humor in it, and she was supposed to be very elegant and have this poise, but I find a lot of my own characteristics bumbled in there with her. So she's kind of clumsy. She says the wrong thing at the wrong time. She's a little bit too trusting, but she's super smart. So I think I'm going to take credit for that one too.
All right, yeah, of course. And so that's also you started out as one thing, but then the characters kind of took over. And okay. And what's the latest novel? First, let me ask you, how many books do you have in your series out so far?
There's 5 right now.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. And the Tempting Taste of Danger is number 5.
Oh, I thought I was reading the first one. I went out of order.
You can read them as standalone. I try and make it so you can, but I've heard it's more fun to read from all the way through.
Yeah, I was gonna say I started reading it, and I couldn't tell that it was. I thought it was the first one. So yeah, so you've done a good job of being a standalone within the series. And I've also noticed you've also written like in romance and nonfiction. Is that what's the differences between writing like a cozy mystery and writing like a romance?
Well, for me, all of my books and my genres are kind of been a journey. My nonfiction is our memoirs, and then it goes into like inspirational romance, which was probably. Well, it was a few more stories of my life kind of needing to come out, but they didn't come out in the memoirs. And so once those were done, I got to move on to just total fiction. And so that's why I just adore cozy mysteries. It's just been fun, and it's all make believe, and I like it a lot.
And were you a fan of the genre before you started writing in it?
I really loved Agatha Christie.
Mm-hmm.
She was brilliant. And so those old time writers, especially, I love all cozy mysteries. They're amazing. But that's what was my first my first hook was probably Agatha Christie and even Nancy Drew. I think when I was young, I read some of those, and I think that those really flavor what I write now. It's kind of a little bit old fashioned, I think, and more traditional, I suppose. I've heard.
And then, how long have you been writing for?
I've been writing, well, probably my whole life. I've always loved to write, and have I've written my kids' fiction stories when they were growing up, and but as far as publishing, it's probably been about three years.
When did you decide to try to publish a book? What was the time frame on that?
Well, my first book that I published was my memoir, Ghost No More, and yeah, so I kind of had been heading in that direction. I'm an advocate for adult survivors of child abuse and assault, and so that was kind of my first focus, was getting, sharing my story and hopefully encouraging other readers that their story matters and that they have a story too. And then I just slowly moved on through that to where I am today, which is, writing cozy mysteries.
And do you have more books planned for your series, for the Angel Lake series?
I do. I'm also starting a new series right now. It's kind of hush hush, but it's super fun.
Oh, that's exciting. So do you work on both series at the same time, or do you focus on one and then go to the other one?
I know a lot of authors who can focus on more than one book at a time, but I just cannot do it. I get too scatterbrained, and I can't give it the time it needs. So no, I just do one at a time.
And so you mentioned Agatha Christie as one of your influences. Were there any other authors that have influenced the way you write?
Oh my gosh! Well, there's so many. The authors that I truly adore, I can't write like them at all, but I wish I could. But that's J.R.R. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, Stephen King, Terry Pratchett. I mean, I just love these authors, but I can't emulate what they do. But maybe.
Oh, so you read in a lot of different genres. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so you mentioned that in your books that your personality kind of not took over, but it influenced your characters. How about your experiences? Are they in your novels? Do they make it into your books?
Not so much my cozy mysteries. No, they're all make believe, and for the most part, other than some of her poor Elise's foibles and flaws.
Yeah, I guess it would be very good if because there's always a dead bodies. That wouldn't be a good thing. So yeah, that's good.
Nobody want to be my friend.
Yeah, that's thinking about that. I'm like, that wouldn't make sense. So yeah, I kept thinking, with pop culture, like Murder, She Wrote, and I mean that's kind of like, would that be considered a cozy mystery? That's
definitely, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And the game of Clue, I think that's a cozy mystery too.
Oh, the actual game board. Oh, that's pretty cool. Do you see like pop culture influence your writing at all, or not?
I'm pretty much just kind of wing it myself, and I can see definitely the things from culture influencing it. Like my last book is about an escape room, so those are pretty new, but they're kind of the rage out here in Seattle. So I had fun exploring that, but it's new enough that some people don't know what an escape room is. So I wondered if that would, people would still be interested in it. But so far, everybody's been very interested in it, so that's good.
Yeah, it's very amazing when I was looking at the category. I mean, these cozy mysteries are such a popular genre with a lot of fans and readers. It's been so interesting to see that. Do you find that the readers do you get a lot of interaction from readers?
I think cozy mystery readers are just amazing, and So are the authors. All the authors, it's a kind of a close-knit community, and everybody supports each other, and really the authors are pretty amazing. They write exceptionally well, so it's been fun to read their stuff and see, where really cozy mystery really represents, and it's a fun, fun thing to read, fun genre.
Yeah, I think that's so cool too. I've noticed that even with my own genre of even they're competitors, but everyone's so friendly and everyone wants to help each other out. I think it's so cool that happens versus just seeing each other as competitors.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about books is that it's like they're like Pringles or Ruffles. You can't just have one. So they just keep coming, and readers are pretty voracious and in reading, and they like variety. So I think it all works out.
And I was very interested when I was looking at the categories. There's like these on Amazon. There's subcategories of what was it? Craft and hobbies and culinary. And I see that some of your book covers you have cakes and cookies. So how does that tie into the cozy mystery?
So they are a little bit theme centered. My cakes and cookies are more for Elise to eat. I'm a horrible cook myself, so unfortunately, mine aren't really culinary centered. But some of the cozy mysteries, they have recipes at the back, and they really focus on offering the reader even more than just fiction. They can have recipes too.
Oh wow, that's so
My
fascinating.
recipes are like 3 ingredients and maybe some Tums afterwards, but
Yeah.
my poor husband.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Yeah. So what's your process of writing? Do you are you a pantser, or do you like organize? Do you outline?
I'm trying to outline. It's not very easy for me, and I guess I am a pantser. I go through the mystery wondering who did it too a lot of the time, and I look at it also like, how can I make this fun for the reader? So I try and really focus on the clues, and sometimes the clues will lead me to different places than I was actually expecting to go with the story. So.
Oh, so you're kind of like going along for the ride. That's interesting. So has like the person who did the murder, has it changed? Like when you're writing, do you start thinking, oh, it's going to be this person, and then it switches?
It did that in one of my books. Yeah. Usually I have an idea of who did it, but especially with my first couple of books, I didn't want to focus too much on who actually did it, because your writing will take a slant, either too much pointed at them or maybe too obscure about them. So I wanted to keep it neutral, and that's super fun for me. Hearing from my readers, a lot of them, even though I like putting my clues out there in plain view, and then seeing if they can guess who did it, and that's the fun part about this process for me.
Yeah, so it's like you said earlier, it's like a puzzle. So the readers are reading along and they're trying to figure it out, and that's that must be part of the fun of that genre, trying to see if they can figure it out.
Oh, it's so fun! I love it so much, and a lot of my readers will be like, "You surprised me." Some of them will say, "I figured it out," but very rarely, and it's super fun. It's like a game,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see why you mentioned the game Clue, which was very much like that. I can't remember the characters' names, but there's like the butler.
Oh, yeah. Candlestick.
I haven't played that in like 30 years. That's bringing back memories.
It's exactly like that, and that's why I love it. I adore it.
Yeah. And so when you started writing these, what are some of the challenges? Like research, or what are some of the challenges?
Oh my gosh, I always worry about the kind of research my computer history will show.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Well, what do you find it like research overload trying to prepare to write, or do you research as you go along writing?
Oh, I research as I go along writing, because sometimes the story will change, and like I said, one clue might lead me a different direction, and now I have a whole new set of clues. So
Yep, I'm the same way too. As I write, I'm doing research, which sometimes can be kind of a time suck when you fall in those research holes on the internet. But
Yeah, that one really bad research hole called Facebook. I know.
yeah, oh yes, exactly. And YouTube. Yeah, I go in there to look for a street address or something and see what something looks like, and then it's like, oh, this is
Right,
bad.
and now you're watching dancing kittens.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, bad. And where do you when you're writing? Where do you write? Do you write out of your home, or do you go to a coffee shop? Or?
Oh, I write in my house, and it has to be quiet, fairly quiet. And the worst part about writing for me is if somebody tries to talk to me in the middle of it, because I have the worst time switching gears. Mm-hmm. So my husband has gotten used to saying, "Okay, I need to talk to you," so I can like almost mentally switch gears so I can pay attention to him.
Yeah, it's like, hello.
Yeah. So I feel bad about that, but we've worked out a system now where he can at least get my attention. So.
Yeah, and so so when you're zeroed in, do you try to, like, when you're writing a story, do you have like a word count goal for the day, or how does your process work when you're writing the book?
I start out with a word count goal or a time frame of how long I want to sit there, and that's usually just to kind of get me sitting and focused. And then whatever happens after that, I often write more than my word count. Sometimes I just barely make it to my word count, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness I'm done, But usually I can just, once I get going, I just don't want to stop. So.
And what do you use to write? Do you use like Word or a Scrivener or something like that?
Yeah, I use Scrivener. That's probably what's helped me kind of outline a little bit, because they have a real easy way to switch back and forth between chapters and ideas and bullet points and corkboard and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can imagine too with the mysteries. If you're going to switch things around, that's what I like Scrivener too. You can like drag those folders around and those files. It's like makes it so easy.
So easy, I know. It really is helpful. And then I usually will upload it to Word. I don't know why, but that's my next process.
Yeah, well, that happens to me too, because my editor uses Word. So yeah, so once I'm done with the writing, then it switches to Word.
Yeah, and it's like a big goal, a celebration. I'm in Word now.
Yeah, it's like woohoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting that you mentioned that, because I get that right now. Like I'm going through editing in Scrivener right now, like doing the read through after finishing, and I'm so excited to get it to Word now, because then that means it's ready to go off to people.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, what's your writing day like then? So you're quiet. You don't need to listen to any music or anything like that.
No, I do have music going, and when I'm writing, I can. It's quiet, but I can kind of tune out too. So I have 4 kids and 2 grandkids, so they're often here, and they're loud. But I can mostly tune them out as long as they're not talking to me. If they do talk to me, I'm like that just totally breaks the whole groove, and I probably won't write anymore that day,
Yeah.
Or for a while. Because I have, like I said, I have 2 hats. I have my mom hat, and then I have my writer's hat, and it's hard to switch in between them. So.
Yeah, it's the collision of the 2 worlds.
Yeah.
And look at your covers; they're very nice. Do you do those yourself, or do you have a cover designer?
I do have an awesome friend who designs them for me. I usually go and I find the pictures, and then she makes them into my covers.
Because I would imagine that's probably a big for marketing, on the marketing side of things. You have to have the right look and the branding, huh?
Yeah, I think so. My covers are a little bit different than, I would say, most of the cozy mysteries, but they're very branded, and I still think that they convey, what expectations a cozy mystery reader, would be fulfilled with my books. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did notice that when I was looking at doing research on this. A lot of the cozy mysteries are kind of like not cartoon, but kind of animated covers.
Yeah, I would say cartoonish.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, yours are not, but they really stand out. So, and yeah, you're doing so well too. So that was So they obviously they're working.
I really love it, and I just can't even thank my fans enough for supporting me. It means so much, This is something I've always wanted to do. One of my dreams, besides being a mom and having a family, is being a writer. So it's just awesome.
And do you have a lot of interaction with your fans? And where do you usually hear from them? Do they email? Or are you on Facebook?
Well, because I write a couple different genres, I hear from my fans a little bit differently. The ones from my memoir generally will email me, and the ones from like cozy mystery I interact with a lot on Facebook.
Yeah, so you have a Facebook author page?
I do. It's CeeCee James author.
Okay.
On Facebook.
Yeah, and I'll have a link to that for the listeners in case they're by the website. I'll have a link to that on the web page there, so they can find you. And so what keeps you going with the writing? And I know you love it and everything, but what's what gets you to sit down and say, I gotta write this next book?
Oh, it's definitely just like a pressure inside. You just have to let the words out and let the story out. And I've always been like that. I'm a daydreamer, so something weird will catch my eye, and all of a sudden my imagination goes off, and I have to write it down.
Is that how you get the ideas for these? Because these are really, like you said, you have to have you have to have a central mystery, and you have to have different changes in the could have been this person that did it or that person. How do you get those ideas? Is it just stuff from your imagination, or do you how does that process work?
It is from my imagination. I don't know. It's kind of a scary place in there, I guess,
Yeah.
But yeah, I just imagine who could have done this, and who could have been his enemies or her enemies, and what motives would they have had, and just coming up with all of that is super fun for me.
Yeah, because the book that I was reading was set in a bookstore, which is kind of different.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, interesting. I was wondering, do you walk into a bookstore and you go, I can see a dead body there? Yeah.
No. I do think things like that, but this one came mostly from the escape room, and where could this escape room be located? And I knew of a few, and they were located in this old building, and so that kind of just where it all started going. Of course, I love bookstores, so.
Yeah. And so that was that one actually is your latest book in that series.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. And when's the next one? I'm sorry. You're working on a new series, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're gonna go back to Angel Lake.
Oh, I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
It's funny because I wrote this one, and somehow people must have been worried because I'm starting to get emails like, "Don't let this be the last one." So that's super fun.
From the time you start writing to the time it's published, how long does that usually take you?
Oh, I would say about 2 months.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I have friends that are way more prolific than I am, but it just takes me some time to get going. And then there's the first draft, the second draft, the third draft, and then I send it to my beta readers, and then I fix it some more.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Yeah,
I love my beta readers because they do. You have the story in your head, and so you see it, but when you have somebody who's non-biased and they are reading it, they can always find the stuff that you're not really answering correctly, or.
Mm-hmm. Do you send it to beta readers before or after your editor?
Oh, before, because it can often change after based on their feedback.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I was curious about that with the beta readers and the whole editing process. Do you? How many beta readers do you usually send it to?
I usually will put a call out on my Facebook page on who would like to be a beta reader, and I have a few that have followed me through all the books, and just based on their feedback, I'll send it out to a few, and if I feel like I'm good, then that's all I'll do. If I feel like I want a little bit more feedback, I'll send it to a few more.
And so now you're busy with your writing and your life and everything. Do you still find time to read?
I do read. I read a lot. I mostly read indie authors now, just tons of them. Regina Welling is one of my favorites, and Diane Harmon, and there are other cozy mystery writers that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's so important to continue to reading too. So just about everyone.
And I'm still in my Stephen King and
yeah, right, of course. Yeah.
Terry Pratchett.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how he cranks those out too.
And you can reread them. I mean, his books are so rereadable. You know, that's what that's to me a mark of a good author is if their books are rereadable. I just adore that.
Well, even Agatha Christie, I remember
sure.
every year I try to read a couple older ones that I've read before and that I haven't read in a while. And last year I read 2 Agatha Christie's. I kind of got and I'm like, wow, these are still pretty good because I read them when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. You see, they're making a remake of Murder on the Orient Express coming out this summer, I think.
Oh, you know, I hardly ever watch them on movies. I just read them usually.
yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's a big cast. Of course, now I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember any of them, but all the big stars.
Right, them. I know. I like them too.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, anyway, so what's next for you then? You have the new series coming up, and then just gonna keep plugging away in your cozy mysteries.
As far as I know, I mean, you never know where life's going to take you. But yeah.
And so, okay, well, I'm not going to take much more of your time here, CeeCee, but is there anything else you'd like to say to our listeners? And we have kind of an eclectic mix. We have just readers, but I'm also getting a lot of people who like it because they're aspiring writers. So I don't know if you have any words of advice to an aspiring writer.
I love encouraging new writers, and I just want to say, if you want to write, you've got this. Just go ahead and know that you can do it. And my favorite piece of advice to give people working on their first book is just write as if no one's looking over your shoulder reading it. You know, don't worry about anybody judging your words or reading it. Just get the words out there and get through the story before you even really go back and even look at it hard or edit it or anything. You can't really edit words that aren't there, so you have to get the whole story out, and that will really help you to shape it.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Yeah, just get it out. Just don't worry about anything else. Just get the words out, huh?
Yeah, and don't, when I was writing my first book, it's hard. You do have like somebody, not really, but you feel like somebody's looking over your shoulder and reading those words and judging them and saying, oh, that's not written correctly, or you're not hitting home with that one. And honestly, you have to get the whole thing out and then look at it. And the other thing I learned is that you can't write better than the reader's imagination. So you kind of want to, you're writing in cooperation with their imagination. So you don't have to describe every last little thing because they make their world as they're reading it. And you just kind of are guiding it,
Yeah, I actually like that advice. That like giving the reader the benefit of the doubt that they can figure things out.
Yeah, they do, and they make it. They make it happen. And sometimes I've noticed with me, if I over described too much, that would take them out of the story. So.
Yeah, it's good advice.
But I'm a very, very concise writer. So take my advice with a grain of salt. That's all we can do is offer advice, but you got to find your own thing, and the only way to do that is to write. Yeah, and you've got it in you. People don't realize they've got it in them. They've got the skills.
And it's such an exciting time now to be a writer with in the publishing changes with self-publishing and everything. So.
Oh, it is. It's a huge door opening, and it's just so fun to be able to walk through that door and do it. I've always dreamed of doing, and watching other people realize their dreams too. It's just so exciting.
So, where can the readers find you? Do you have you're on Facebook, or do you have like a website? And
I do have a website. It's also CeeCeeJamesAuthor.com, but probably Facebook is, or I have my email, I think, in the back of most of my books. That's usually where people find me. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll have links to your website and your Facebook on the website. And CeeCee, I want to thank you so much for taking time talking to us about your novels and cozy mysteries. It's had a lot of fun.
Oh, me too. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Meet the Thriller Author. I'd like to ask you to please review and rate this podcast over on iTunes. It really helps me get the word out. If you take a few seconds of your time to do that, it would be much appreciated. You can also visit my website at thrillingreads.com/podcast for show notes on this episode, as well as information about the podcast in general. And you can also sign up for my mailing list there. You'll be getting special offers from our guests, as well as information, behind the scenes information on the podcast. And please do visit my author website at alanpeterson.com. I appreciate your support. And so until next episode, I will talk to you then.